Let's go to Ryan, who's been waiting a long time in Fairfax. Ryan, you're on with Andy Wilson.
Hey, guys. Any talk in your documentary of a possible vaccination for Lyme disease, if at all possible?
Very good question. I'm going to go through these quickly, so I'm cutting you off here, Ryan, but do hang up and listen. Is there any talk of a vaccine at all?
Boy, how much time do we have?
Not a lot.
Yeah. There's no effective vaccine. There has been no effective vaccine, and I don't believe that there's any effective vaccine in the work. And just because they tell you that there might be an effective vaccine coming out doesn't mean there will be. The people who are charged right now with creating vaccines are the same ones who are denying that chronic Lyme disease exists.
Let's go to Jerry in Vermont. Jerry, you're on with Andy Abrahams-Wilson. Yes.
Hey, I was just curious. I heard you mention a little bit earlier about fibromyalgia. My wife has been diagnosed with that pretty severely, and you were making a connection with Lyme disease and fibromyalgia, and I might have missed. I'm a truck driver, so I was in and out of my truck, and I might have missed a few words of how you tied that together, or if it has effects, or how it's connected to Lyme disease, or is it a cause from Lyme disease? Or
quite often, I'll paraphrase, quite often misdiagnosed, that the fibromyalgia is actually a symptom of Lyme disease. Is that correct?
Right. Fibromyalgia just really means you have you're aching.
Right.
Yeah, aching joints.
It's got a second diagnosis?
So it's not really. Doctors have just created this syndrome called fibromyalgia. People come in and say, "Oh, I'm hurting," and they're saying they're calling it fibromyalgia. Many physicians don't even believe that fibromyalgia exists. So what is causing that? That's the question. And in many, many cases, people who are diagnosed with fibromyalgia turn out to have Lyme disease.
Okay. All right. Wow. So that I would say get to a physician, and if she's concerned about it, check it out. I also think it's very important to point out, and I certainly want to point out on this show, everything that's making you sick isn't Lyme disease. So let's nip that in the bud. And I think the movie does show you that a little bit.
Don't
too.
get paranoid.
But be aware.
But be aware of stuff. Yeah, be aware of what's going on here. And if you're in areas, around, rural areas where you're out on the fringe and there are a lot of tick infestations, you should be aware of that too.
And if you're like Buzz, an outdoorsman.
That's right.
That's right. Let's go to Greg in New Mexico. Greg, you're on with Andy. What's your question?
Hey, guys. I contracted Lyme disease when camping in North Carolina, and what I found really frustrating was first I had to literally beg my physician to test me. And one thing that I discovered is that as the disease spreads across the country, it's mixing with other tick-borne diseases like ehrlichiosis and Rocky Mountain spotted fever.
Wow.
And I ended up testing positive for all three.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's right.
Are legit doctors now doing a multi-level testing when...
No, they don't. Doctors don't know. They just don't know enough about this disease. They don't know about the co-infections, and they don't know.
They don't
how
know,
to
or they
get
don't want to know.
Well, I think they don't. I think both.
Because it's a hot potato as far as your license, your medical license. I mean, and they do know that. They do know that this Lyme disease issue is very significant. Thanks a lot.
Why is it such a hot potato issue with doctors?
Well, again, that's another one of those questions that we'd have to sit here for a very long time to respond to. But it's at an issue that the crux of the issue is Lyme disease chronic? Is it a chronic infection? And you have one group of physicians who are really the gatekeepers of the disease definition and disease treatment who are saying, no, Lyme disease can't be chronic.
When he says gatekeeper, the people that write the regulations, that sit on the boards, the medical boards, and they're really writing the rule book for this.
They make the overall decisions.
And unfortunately, there is scientific evidence that's out there that says yes, it is a chronic condition, and that's why people might be diagnosed with it. It goes away and then it comes back a little bit, but it's
That's
still
right, but
it's important to point out if it's treated early though. With the right treatment, you have an overwhelming success rate with treating it.
Yes,
right?
you pay $60 for a course of antibiotics if it's caught early enough,
right?
Versus $150,000 or more
going to 50 different doctors
out of pocket, because a lot of these people with chronic Lyme are denied insurance.
Okay, we're going to take
because
right.
The guidelines say chronic Lyme disease does
not exist. Now, all right, put two and two together with that, Buzz, when you're saying, gee, they don't, if we say it's a chronic condition, we're going to have to pay a lot more money.
Right.
There's the whole health care issue in this country, which is, that's a massive issue. Let's go to Ben, Silver Spring, Maryland. Ben, you're on the Mike O'Mara Show with Andy Abrahams-Wilson. Go ahead.
Appreciate it, Mike. Hey, is there any chance that the people with chronic Lyme disease, particularly those that show symptoms more than 10 or 20 years down the road, have just been reinfected?
Reinfected in terms of bitten by a tick? Is that what you mean?
Exactly. I mean, it happens so frequently to people, especially people that have been bitten once. They live in an area that may be infected.
That's a good question.
Yeah, well, what I've heard from physicians and anecdotally from patients is that yes, if you are more susceptible to reinfection if you're bitten by a tick again.
It can happen in the air. So you got to be more aware of this when you leave it. I'm going to leave this with one final question from Mike in Fairfax, because we could be here all day doing that. But, hey, you got to tell you, money talks. Mike from Fairfax, you're on the Mike O'Mara Show.
Thanks for taking my call, guys.
No problem.
Yeah, I've been dealing with it. My fiance's had it for about 3 years now. And believe it or not, Loudoun County is one of the top 5 areas in the country for incidences of Lyme.
Probably based on all the deer that are out there, too.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you find a doctor that is aware of Lyme and knows what test to give you, because the initial test, the Western blot, there's tests beyond that look for other antibiotics because of those co-infections. And because if you have that co-infection, you probably have the Lyme. So, but it is just crazy. Health insurance, she's denied that.
Yeah, and I agree. Well, Mike, I appreciate the call. Did you have a specific question for Andy?
And just the long-term, effects of antibiotics on the body. That's the other concern why doctors don't want to.
That's a good question.
Treat that,
what about that? Because I wondered about that too. That seems to be the main way they're treating this is massive doses of antibiotics.
Well,
what is the long-term effect on that?
Well, right. It's an important question. But how are we treating cancer? We're treating it with chemotherapy and radiation, which is not, nobody would say that's healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody would say that's good for you
You're
ultimately, but it's being used. What's the choice?
That's in the movie, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's in the movie.
I believe it is.
Yeah, I should have paid more attention. I remember that. This is fascinating stuff. If you would like to find out more, go to the website for the film, underourskin.com. That will link you to all of the other folks that are involved with this. And it's very sad when you see doctors that are really trying to help people brought up before medical review boards. It's frustrating.
It's outrageous.
When you see that, it drives me crazy. And then when you smell that rat, that that 800-pound gorilla in the room, the medical insurance business, that's when I don't trust anybody.
That's right.
It's frustrating. But if you'd like to see the film, it's going to be at the Silver Docks Film Festival. That's in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Yes.
There's a Saturday screening and also a Monday screening, right?
Right.
Is this how long you've been making these documentary films? Is this your first one, or your?
No, I've been doing this for over 10 years.
I could tell. It looked pretty good. It's a wonderful film.
And a lot of it was shot right here in this county. The aerial shots that we did was over
They looked
your lovely trees, your lovely tick-infested trees.
With
right
all
here.
the ticks, and it is tick season, and I just hope
while
that,
you were up there, you could have sprayed.
I hope for everybody's sake that this motivates people to get the medical community to come together and have better policy on this issue. If that's all it does, I think your job has been well done.
Yes, I agree.
Thanks so much. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
That's Andy Abrahams-Wilson. The movie is Under Our Skin. Go see it if you get a chance, if you're concerned about this, and go to underourskin.com if you're worried about ticks. I tell you can't see this movie without getting worried about it. You watch this movie, halfway through it, you're going to be itching.
I'm itching.
Mike, what's on your arm?
I don't know what's on my arm. Stop it right now. All right, so we'll be back with the Hollywood Hot Sheet, and also we're going to play more spy games on the show, and we'll have an update on our free gas giveaway. That's all coming up. We'll be right back on the Mike O'Mara Show.
It's the Mike O'Mara Show.